in example one, what we're going to do is we're going to extend upon what we did in 3.4 with the outliers whenever we were drawing the lower fence, upper fence, and checking for acceptable values of the data set. And what we're looking to do, 5-number summary, we're looking to now draw it, put it on a display, put it on a stat plot to see the behavior of the data set. So a box plot is one of the ways to draw such data set. It shows us the acceptable region. It shows us the quartiles. It shows us the skewness as well. It shows us outliers. It shows us a lot of things when it comes to the data set that I want to show you how to do in the calculator. So in example one, we have 10 randomly selected credit card rates recorded. Okay. So credit card rates range from 6.5%, we have 13% in there, 14.4, 14.5, okay? And when we're given a data set, okay, it's always a good idea to plug it into the calculator. So let's proceed, stat, edit, okay? And as you can tell, I've already entered the data set all the way through, okay? And what I want to do is I want to draw the box plot, okay, the box plot. So in the end, I'll show you the solution that it's in the handout. It's at the very end of the handout. But I'm going to describe some of the differences with the by hand solution and the calculator solution. Okay. So once you have your data set in the calculator, it's always a good idea to go back to the home screen. And from here, what we'll do is we'll go to second y equal. Okay. Second y equal we've used before. We used it before with the histogram. Let's go ahead and turn it on. Okay. But what I want to do is I want to look at another type of stat plot. This is called the box plot. Now, the calculator actually has two box plots. Okay. The first one that's blinking here and the one next to it. The difference between the two, they both still show the box plot, but the difference between the two is that the first one shows a box plot with potential outliers. The second one does not show any outliers in the data set. Okay, so sometimes outliers are so extreme that it's very difficult to see the box itself. So sometimes we will go with the second one right here without the outlier, but we're always interested to see whether or not a data set does have an outlier or not. So here we'll select the first one, and we'll select L1 for our data set, and everything else we'll leave by default. Okay, so if we end up having an outlier, that's what this mark is for right here. It's asking how we want our outlier to be marked on the graph. So now everything is set. Let's hit graph. Okay. And again, this was something that happened kind of in the beginning with the histogram. Sometimes you're able to see it, sometimes you're not able to see it all that clear. So in order to get a nice clear picture of our box plot, zoom number 9. Okay. So going to number 9 is this zoom stat and hit enter. So this is a box plot, okay, and I want to show you kind of the different things with the box plot. Notice here, this is an outlier that the calculator marked. This box itself is actually the quartiles. This is Q1 right here, Q2 or the median, and this is Q3. The lanes that extend out of the box, those are called whiskers. And the whiskers, they have different stopping points actually. If you notice on the left-hand side, this value right here is actually the smallest acceptable value in the data set. What does that mean? So if I consider the smallest overall value, okay, the smallest overall value was 6.5. This value right here is actually 6.5. It is not acceptable. What the whisker does is it finds the smallest and largest acceptable value within the fences, and that's going to be the extension to the left and the extension to the right. Now, if you notice with the calculator, there's one big thing missing, the fences. That's one of the drawbacks when it comes to drawing the the box plot with the calculator, and that includes the 84 as well. It doesn't show the box plot. And I do want to show you, okay, when it comes to the box plot here, if we were to have drawn it by hand, we would have calculated the lower fins, upper fins like we did before, okay? Notice we're putting the values on the axis right here, okay? The outlier right here of 6.5%, okay, that's the outlier right here. So notice there are a lot of similarities going on between these two. Notice how the box is formed with Q1, the median, and Q3. And then finally, the whiskers are the acceptable, the smallest and largest acceptable values within the fences. So that means the entire data that is acceptable is between here and here. Okay, these form fences to cut off the acceptable behavior of the data set. We did have one that was outside of the box plot, but with this section 3.5, it's an extension of what we did in 3.4. Now all we want to do is we want to know how do we draw or display this type of data set, and this is what's called a box plot.